Hello everyone, and welcome back to Last Week Beyond Earth. We're coming off of a little bit of a break here, so we hope you are ready for some more space news. I'm Zach, and with me as always is my co-host David, who is going to give us a hint about today's episode.
Today's episode of Last Week Beyond Earth will cover September 28th through October 4th. We've got some crewed launches, a bit of a SpaceX grounding, and other mission updates ready to go. Let's dive in.
Saturday, September 28th, saw the next crew rotation to the International Space Station launch with SpaceX's Crew 9. Liftoff occurred at 1:17 p.m. Eastern Time from Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. Carried aboard Crew Dragon Freedom was the reduced crew heading out on their tour for the ISS. This reduced crew consists of NASA astronaut Nick Hague on his second flight and Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov on his first flight. Missing from the crew were NASA astronauts Zena Cardman and Stephanie Wilson. Zena and Stephanie were removed to provide seats for NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams, who were left aboard the station after their Boeing Starliner suffered thruster issues during their test flight and had to return to Earth without them. This means that Butch and Sonny are officially members of Crew 9 and will remain aboard the station until the end of that crew rotation, which is sometime in February. Crew Dragon Freedom successfully docked to the forward docking port of the Harmony module at the ISS at 5:20 p.m. on Sunday the 29th. Nick and Alexander opened the hatch and officially joined the crew of the ISS at 7:04 p.m. They were greeted by their fellow crewmates, Butch and Sonny, as well as NASA astronauts Matthew Dominic, Michael Barrett, Jeanette Epps, and Don Pettit, as well as Roscosmos cosmonauts Alexander Grebenkin, Alexei Ovechkin, and Ivan Wagner.
While the Crew 9 launch successfully made it to the ISS, the launch wasn't a total success for SpaceX. The second stage suffered an anomaly in which the engine didn't function properly, which caused the second stage to land outside of the safety zone in the Pacific Ocean. SpaceX announced late Saturday that they were halting operations for the Falcon 9 to further investigate the situation. On Monday, the 30th of September, the Federal Aviation Administration announced that they would require an investigation into this before Falcon 9 would be able to launch again. This will be the third grounding of SpaceX this year by the FAA. The first grounding came in July after the second stage engine started freezing in space. That grounding lasted 15 days. The second occurred in August after a first stage booster fell over, which resulted in just 2 days being grounded. We'll have to wait and see how long this grounding takes, although there are several launches that are in danger of slipping their launch dates if the grounding continues for very long. Of particular note, the European Space Agency's Planetary Defense Mission Hera is set for an October 7th launch date. NASA's Europa Clipper mission, which will study Jupiter's Europa moon, is scheduled for October 10th launch. Luckily, both of these missions have launch windows that extend further into October. As long as the investigation doesn't take too long, once Falcon 9 is cleared, they'll both be able to launch.
Crew 9 wasn't the only major launch last week. The United Launch Alliance's Vulcan Centaur had a second successful certification flight. Liftoff occurred at 6:25 a.m. Eastern Time, after a couple of delays earlier in the launch window. The rocket launched from Space Launch Complex 41 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. This mission was originally intended to carry the first flight of Sierra Space's Dream Chaser, but that payload was not ready, and ULA needed to go ahead with the Cert-2 flight due to national security needs. Instead of Dream Chaser, Vulcan lifted off with an inert payload, experiments, and demonstrations for the U.S. Space Force. The Vulcan Centaur is ULA's new heavy lift rocket. It is capable of lifting 27,600 kilograms or 60,000 pounds into low Earth orbit. This new vehicle is replacing ULA's Atlas V and Delta IV rockets. It was designed primarily to fly national security missions. However, it is available for commercial missions as well. Vulcan Centaur had a first successful certification flight, which took place in January of this year. That mission saw the rocket successfully place Astrobotic's Peregrine lunar lander on a trajectory to the moon. Unfortunately for Astrobotic, their Peregrine lander suffered an anomaly, though that was at no fault of the Vulcan.
On September 30th, Gilmour Space, an Australian rocket company, successfully completed a wet dress rehearsal for their first launch ever. This practice run saw them fill up the Eris rocket with propellant and go through all of the motions through launch up to 10 seconds prior to actually launching the rocket. The upcoming Eris test flight will be the first orbital-capable rocket built and launched from Australia. The practice run did find a few issues, which the company expects to have resolved prior to the first launch. These issues include 2 faulty valves and some software reconfigurations. Beyond these small issues, the rehearsal found the launch vehicle, ground systems, and range operations all ready to go or launch. Now, the only remaining obstacle for Gilmour to launch is to have authorization from the Australian government.
October 1st saw NASA select 2 companies to conduct capability studies that will advance space communications and exploration technologies. The companies selected to conduct these studies are lunar exploration company Intuitive Machines and telecommunications company Illyria Technologies. Intuitive Machines is receiving $647,600 to conduct a study on lunar user terminals and network orchestration. They will look into making state-of-the-art user terminals that can be used for both navigation and communications that will aid in the exploration of the lunar surface. Illyria Technologies will be receiving $393,004 to conduct a study on network orchestration and management systems. The study will help NASA with its need to integrate into multiple commercial and government service providers that are supporting NASA's Near Space Network.
NASA engineers have turned off the plasma science experiment on Voyager 2. This action was taken to conserve the little remaining power from the spacecraft. NASA is trying to leave the remaining science experiments running as long as possible, as it's the only human spacecraft in interstellar space. NASA astronaut Josh Cassada has retired after 11 years in service. His time with NASA included 1 spaceflight to the ISS as part of SpaceX Crew 5. That flight saw him in space for 157 days, during which he conducted 3 spacewalks. Endural Industries, a defense technology company, announced on October 1st that they would partner with Apex Space, a satellite development company. Endural will use Apex satellite buses to help fulfill a $25.3 million contract from the U.S. Space Force.
Sidus Space, a satellite manufacturer, announced the completion of testing for their LizzieSat-2. LS-2 underwent vibration testing, which it passed successfully. This brings the company closer to launch, which is planned for later this year. Lunar exploration company Astrobotic announced the completion of a series of testing for their Griffin Mission 1. The test saw the company's Griffin lunar lander successfully establish communications with NASA's Deep Space Network, which is operated by NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. GM-1 is set to launch in 2025. China has revealed the new spacesuits for their upcoming lunar missions. Their goal is to reach the moon by 2030. All right, there's another week of space news. David, did you find anything of interest?
You know, I did. I thought that we've been running into some recurring issues now with SpaceX and the Falcon 9 being grounded again.
Mm-hmm.
That's 3 times this year. It seems like they seem to have some kind of recurring issues. Or maybe it's not the same issue, but multiple different issues even. Hopefully they can get everything fixed up here soon and get all of their upcoming flights to launch on schedule. It'd be a real shame if they had to push those other flights that are coming up, Hera. And the other one, forgetting its name now.
Europa Clipper.
Oh, the Clipper. That one sounds exciting too. Other than that, I think that the announcement that they've had to shut off Voyager 2's plasma science experiment, that's kind of a little bit disheartening. But at the same time, Voyager 2 has been out there a long time. It is far from home, and it's really done a great job, I guess, exploring for us and getting all that extra science
out where no other spacecraft has gone before.
Yeah. What about you?
So I always enjoy a crewed launch. So Crew 9 is a big one for me. But I think out of the launches, the Vulcan Just having another heavy lift capable rocket ready to go. It also looks pretty great, and ULA has always been very strong in the launch competition. Very reliable rockets. So I'm glad that they've got the second certification out of the way, and we can get into some of the more real missions. And also can't wait for them to launch Dream Chaser when that's ready to go. I'm also excited about progress being made on the Griffin lunar landers, because I'm all about the moon exploration missions. So having them making headway on that, especially, being able to bounce back after the Peregrine mission was an unfortunate loss for them and didn't reach the goal of the moon. So seeing that didn't stop them, they're moving forward. They've got their next mission, 2025. Fingers crossed, everything goes well, and we'll get to see them land then. And finally, I'm kind of interested in seeing the Chinese spacesuit for their lunar missions. Again, I'm all about the moon exploration, and I'm excited to see it happen, even if it's from another nation. So seeing China kind of making some headway on those lines and having their suit ready and seeing their plans is also very interesting to me.
Absolutely.
But that's what we thought. Of course, we always want to hear from our viewers, so please let us know in the comments below if you found anything of interest or if we missed any stories from last week.
All right. Well, thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.
Thanks for watching. These cats are just driving me nuts. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Last Week Beyond Earth. It's been a...
Cover September 28th through October 4th.
Hello, everyone, and...
Made it to the ISS.
Oh, jeez!
Oh my god, are you okay, kitty?